Do you ever feel like everyone else is ahead of you? Hey there. Let me ask you something personal. Have you ever looked around and thought, wow, everyone else seems to be doing better than me? Maybe your friends are getting married, buying houses, having kids, or landing amazing jobs. While you're still trying to figure things out, it can feel like you're stuck, like you missed the train. If that sounds familiar, I want you to take a deep breath, because in this episode, we're going to talk about that exact feeling, that feeling of being behind in life, and most importantly, why you are not late. You'll not only improve your English listening, but also your mindset. By the end of this episode, I want you to feel calmer, stronger, and more hopeful. So stay with me. You're not alone in this. Why do English learners especially struggle with this feeling? You might be wondering, why are we talking about life, success, and comparison on an English podcast? Well, here's the truth. Learning English is not just about grammar and vocabulary. It's about confidence. And many learners feel like they're behind in English and in life. They compare themselves to others who speak better, faster, more fluently. They feel like they started too late. Or they think, if I had learned English 5 years ago, I would have more opportunities today. So this episode is especially for you, for the learner who feels like they missed their chance. You didn't. Trust me, this will be a journey of encouragement, mindset, and real language you can use. Let's begin. What does being behind actually mean? Let's break this idea down. What do we really mean when we say, I feel behind? Usually, we're comparing ourselves to some invisible timeline. A voice in our head says, by 25, I should have done this. By 30, I should have that. But where does that timeline even come from? Social media, family pressure, movies. The truth is, everyone's timeline is different. And feeling behind doesn't mean you failed. It just means you're comparing. We'll talk more about that later. But for now, remember, you're not a failure. You're just on your own path. Why do we compare ourselves so much? Comparison is a natural human behavior. It's part of how we understand the world. But in today's world, especially with social media, comparison is everywhere. You open Instagram or TikTok and boom, someone your age is buying a car, traveling the world, launching a business. And here you are, still figuring out your verbs and tenses. But here's the thing. What you see is not the full story. You see the result, not the struggle. You don't see the fear, the doubt, the years of trying. So before you compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20, pause. Ask yourself, am I seeing the full picture or just a highlight reel? How does this affect your confidence in English? Let's connect this back to English. When you feel behind in life, it often affects your language learning too. You might tell yourself, I'm too old to learn, or I'm not smart enough, or it's too late for me. But those thoughts, they're not facts. They're fears. And those fears can block your progress. They make you avoid speaking, avoid practicing, avoid taking risks. So we're going to change that. One thought at a time. One word at a time, and we'll do it together. What if you're exactly where you're meant to be? Let's imagine something different. What if you're not late? What if you're exactly on time for your journey? That's a powerful thought, isn't it? You might not believe it yet, but think about all the things you've gone through, the lessons you've learned, the things you've survived. Maybe those things are preparing you for something better. Maybe you weren't supposed to peak early. Maybe your story is still building. And maybe, just maybe, this is the perfect time to start. What happens when you start believing that? When you start believing that it's not too late, something magical happens. You stop rushing. You stop panicking. You begin to enjoy learning again. You listen with curiosity. You speak without fear of judgment. You try, not because you have to, but because you want to. That's where real growth happens. English becomes something exciting, not a test, not a pressure, just something that adds to your journey. What if life isn't a race? Have you ever heard the phrase, life is not a race? It's true, but many of us live like it is. We rush through school. We rush to find a job. We rush to get married, buy a house, start a family. But what happens when you slow down? When you stop running and start living? You notice more. You learn better. You appreciate what you already have. And honestly, you learn English better too, when you're not rushing it. What should you do when everyone else seems ahead? Okay, let's be real. There will be moments when others seem far ahead of you. That's life. But here's what you can do. Instead of feeling jealous or defeated, try to feel inspired. Let their success show you what's possible, not what you've missed. Turn comparison into curiosity. Ask, how did they get there? What can I learn from them? And then, focus back on your own next step. That's what matters. What's the danger of the too late mindset? Thinking I'm too late is dangerous because once you believe that, you stop trying. You give up before you even start. That's why this mindset is not just unhelpful, it's harmful. It's not too late to start learning English. It's not too late to go back to school, to change careers, to move to a new country. It might be hard. It might take time. But late, number, you're right on time. What does starting look like today? You don't have to make a huge change overnight. Sometimes starting just means watching this video, practicing one sentence, learning one new word. That small step, it matters. In fact, those small steps are what build the future. Don't wait for perfect conditions. Just start, exactly where you are, with what you have. What are some real stories of late bloomers? Let me share something inspiring. Did you know that Morgan Freeman didn't get his big acting break until he was in his 50s? Or that Vera Wang didn't become a designer until age 40? And what about people who started learning English in their 60s and still became fluent speakers? Late bloomers are everywhere. It's not about age. It's about persistence. It's about staying in the game. How can you reframe your timeline? Instead of saying, I should have done this earlier, try saying, I'm doing this now. And that's powerful. Your timeline is your own. It doesn't have to look like anyone else's. So next time you feel behind, pause. Ask, am I really behind or just on a different path? That shift in thinking can change everything. Why is progress invisible sometimes? Sometimes we don't feel like we're making progress because we can't see it. But progress is often invisible. It's in the quiet moments, the hard days, the little wins. Like understanding a sentence you couldn't understand last year. Or finally saying something out loud without freezing. Those are victories. Celebrate them. What if you focused on the journey, not just the goal? Language learning and life is not just about the destination. It's about the process, the day-to-day. What if you learn to enjoy this moment, the part where you're still figuring things out? That's the part that builds your character. That's the part where real growth happens. How do you stay consistent? When you feel discouraged. There will be days when you feel like giving up, when nothing seems to work. On those days, don't focus on the finish line. Just focus on showing up. Open your notebook, press play on your English video, listen, repeat, try. That's what consistency looks like, not perfection, just presence. Why are you stronger than you think? If you're listening to this, you're already doing something powerful. You're learning. You're reflecting. You're investing in yourself. That's strength. And the fact that you're still here, still trying, still listening, means you haven't given up. That's something to be proud of. What happens when you trust your timing? When you stop forcing life to happen faster, things start flowing more naturally. You stop panicking. You trust. You learn better. You speak more freely. You live with more peace. That's the power of trusting your timing. You're not behind. You're just getting started. What should you remember when you feel lost again? The feeling of being behind might come back again. That's okay. It's normal. But when it does, come back to this. You're not late. You're learning. You're growing. You're becoming. You don't have to be the fastest. You just have to keep going. You are exactly where you need to be. What can you take from this episode today? So, what did we learn today? That life isn't a race. That you are not behind. That your journey is unique. And it's valid. And when it comes to English, or life, or anything else, it's never too late to begin. Take this message with you today. Repeat it in your mind when doubt comes. I am not late. I'm right on time. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode of Learn English with Deja.